What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. This video is also brought to you by two things. Since we don't do any sponsorships here on the channel, I'll go ahead and show them out real quick. The first is my music, which is available anywhere you stream music under the name After Sound. And the second is a new podcast I just launched called Chasing Infinity. It is myself and ChatGPT as my AI co-host, and we dive into a wide range of topics in short form videos just like these. So check it out. Links in the description below, and I appreciate the support. All right, guys, let's jump into another answering your Splinterlands comments videos. Another Splinterlands comments video. So this is already off to a great start. I just put out the should the DAO hire a guild developer? So we were going to start with the questions from that, but we'll just work our way down and see how things go. So first up is Vlogging saying, sure, but how many developers before the DAO runs out of funds? 6 months is not enough for a junior developer not familiar with the product to do very much, but if there's a qualified person for the job right now, then I would vote yes. Yeah, so that is the difficult part of this vlogging is who do we find? Is there somebody that was on the team that maybe had to get let go that understands things and we can just bring them in? It's a 6-month contract. Hopefully it helps them transition to whatever their next role ends up being, but also allows us to bring in somebody who knows how things are run and have them focus on an area that maybe they hadn't had a chance to focus on before because we didn't have the opportunity and the resources. So that is obviously there's a lot to consider. All I'm saying is that this is the time period that we should be considering it, because if we wait until Conclave Arcana comes out and then Matt turns to, the very thin development team as it is and says, okay, maybe we should start working on guilds now. Who can work on guilds? If we start doing that in April of next year, keep in mind that the first top for Bitcoin in 2021 was, I think, in April or May, or like around that time frame of 2021. We did end up getting the double top, and obviously we had the gaming bull run over the summer, but that's not necessarily guaranteed, right? And you can look back at that, and I know all the crypto analysts are going to look at that and say, well, we were kind of cut down by Elon Musk's tweet and the China FUD and all this stuff, and sure, whatever, that's fine. Like I all I'm saying is that by that point in time, if we start at that point and we only have 6 months then, right, we might miss out on a lot of folks. So we have the funds now, we have the capability now. If there's a right fit, I really do think that there's an opportunity. International Travel Channel, thank you so much for the comment, and I appreciate you. Supreme Victory Network says, guilds will benefit everyone, both new and old. I vote yes. All right, cool. BC says, change chaos reward cards to burn for glint, billion DEC problem solved. So that's the video I put out maybe a day or two ago, focusing on the Chaos Legion reward cards. They're still, a 1.2 billion DEC liability, but I don't think you're ever going to get anybody in their right mind to vote for that. I don't even think that I would vote for it. So it's just, we just got to eat through it. Okay, Lord Kager says, I also think bots are still running in Modern. Not just about the crazy lineup, but sometimes even strange series of nicknames that resemble a lot of bots. I've definitely come across quite a few. So the BLTR, I don't know what it is. It stands for Baltazar. Those are supposedly, sorry, I don't mean to say that suspiciously, but those are supposedly the Baltazar guild, right? So those are supposedly scholars. I've seen others that I won't name here, but there's like a couple of accounts where it's just like, a name and then a number, and like the numbers go up really high. So I don't know what's going on with those. I've done a little digging and investigating to try and see, and they tend to like rent a bunch of cards. They don't own much, which again is a little concerning, but maybe it is just players. Maybe it is just players. I have no idea. But I agree with you. I hope that we can dig into that a little bit more. Okay, so let's see here. So yeah, Symbol says, I come a lot of BLTZR, reported to the team, I still see them a lot. They must have a lot of accounts to police. Okay, so the BLTZR is the Baltazar guild. And if you remember, like, I don't know, a while ago, they did something with Bulldog, maybe 2 years ago, where they opened like 1 million packs on stream. So I do think that the Baltazar ones are fine. It's the other ones that look a little shady. Because I think the Baltazar ones, they all own their cards. It's the other ones that look a little shady to me. Bananas01 says, the game is fun, but I've been here for 6 years and nothing is fun for that long. Many marriages don't even last that long. I bought because I can, and it keeps me earning glint and SPS. I likely won't do a lot of manual playing again until Battles 2.0 or some other game modes. Well, hopefully we'll get hardcore mode at some point. And once what's that called? Tech modernization is done on the battle screen, maybe we'll be able to move towards more Battles 2.0-esque things. All right, Nickelbar says, yeah, it's a concern, but not as big. Not even 50% should get burned in the long run if things start to take off. I hope so. I mean, keep in mind, with the math that we're doing on the Pellicors, for example, right? So Pellicor Bandit, the max amount of maxed copies is, I believe, 20,000. So that's a hell of a lot, right? Hell of a lot of copies there. Obviously, we've already burned a ton, but I agree with you. If we can get up to 10,000 real people in the game, which I think is doable, right? We don't need tens of thousands, but just 10,000. All of a sudden, you're absolutely right. I think all those people would want a Pellicor Bandit, and therefore, there's your half right there. All right, this is for the giveaway, so we'll skip through that. International Travel Channel, thank you so much. And Snowballs as well. I'll give you a little heart there, too. All right, so Pray to Ria says, if only rental platforms like Peak Monsters introduce collateral rent, where you use old cards as collateral to rent new cards based on market value. Let's say I want to rent Max Legendary Summoner for Modern. I'll put probably 1,000 Pellicor Bandit as collateral. But then where's the money coming from? Are you trying to take a loan on that? So you're trying to take a loan to rent that you're going to have to pay back, and you just want to use collateral. Okay, so I can see where you're coming from. That's an interesting idea, but Peak Monsters would have to fork up a lot of DEC for that. They'd probably take a cut, so it'd be beneficial for them, but they'd have to develop that. It's an interesting idea. I get where you're coming from. I don't know. I remember Aggie wanted some kind of collateral markets as well. But I think that we're too far away from that. And a lot of these cards, I mean, what's 1,000 Pellicor Bandits even worth? $10, right? $10 at a penny, but you see them going for even less than that and below their burn value. I mean, again, it's a cool idea. Maybe the market gets big enough, then it's something that we can consider. But right now, I don't know. All right, Wangmeister says, all right, thanks for following up on the drilling down on Chaos Legion rewards. Specifically, they are the biggest first threat of DEC inflation. Agree the gold foils are less of a threat than regular foils. I'm concerned for the CL main set, though, as it's already been flirting with and selling at or below burn values at times. When they removed from Modern, that could get drastically worse in mass burning DEC inflation. We will still be truly haunted by Aggie's aggressive pushing and shoving and discounts on CL packs just to sell packs. It has done so much damage even this many years later. I'm here for the long run. I love this cult. Cheers for the content. So LOL, that is the meaning of chaos. I guess the impact isn't great in the game. We will feel it for years, says Cold Ass. So, okay, what's interesting about this is you're not wrong, but the damage from Chaos Legion Core versus the reward is significantly less. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's nowhere near that amount. In fact, if I remember correctly, and you know what, I'm not going to remember correctly, so I won't. All I'm saying is that the Pellicor Bandits, for example, all of those commons, those early commons, were 20,000 max copies. I think we only had 1,000 or something max copies of the other common cards. It's not nearly as much. It's literally a fraction, not even half, not even 1/4, right? We're talking about less than 1/4 of the damage. Plus, since those cards are much more scarce, if we do get new players, which I think is the expectation or the hope, if we do get new players, those will be the cards that they'll probably gravitate towards, not necessarily first, but there's just not as many of those to go around. So you need your Hardy Stonefishes, you need your Gargoyle Scrappers, right? You want those 1-mana cards. So I see where you're coming from. I'm not as worried about Chaos Legion Core set, though. If we burn through the 1 billion DEC of the reward cards, I think we'll be home free from there, hopefully. I'm going to do a video at some point talking through the DEC implications of Conclave Arcana. I mean, this proposal looks like it's set to pass as of right now. So if we start looking even just at the pre-sale, that's going to make a lot of things irrelevant, in my opinion, in a very, very good way, including these reward cards. But I'm saving that for later once we get confirmation that all this stuff is actually going to happen. International Travel Channel and Snowballs, thank you again for the comments. I'm sure the algorithm and I do appreciate it. All right, so Ramir.pyrc says, I wish the Wild Season Pass next year will be removed when Arcadia is out. 90% of my cards are Chaos Legion, or I may just rent out my cards. That's not a bad idea. I've been thinking about this a lot. A future video to come out, a little bit of a preview, is I think it's going to be fun to play Modern format next once the rotation happens. And I don't think you're going to need to buy a ton of cards. I actually think the spread is going to be significantly higher because I'll tell you this. I'm not going to go super heavy into Rebellion or super heavy into Conclave Arcana, at least not as of right now. So the thought process is, if I can get, right, and I'm playing in gold, I just made it into diamond, but if I can get, let's just say a maxed silver deck, which is significantly cheaper, right? Significantly cheaper than, what is it called? Than like a gold or whatever. And I can stay in silver, or I can maybe flirt with gold, right? Because again, these leagues don't mean anything. They're just ratings now, and ratings inflation will allow you to rise higher. If I'm going to be doing that, and others will be, and there'll be new players coming in that don't want to drop $6,000 on a new set, they just want to come in, spend a couple $100. They'll have fun down in the lower leagues with they'll have fun down in the lower leagues with the liquidity bots and with players like myself. And if we're earning a decent amount of SPS, because keep in mind, in silver, I think I'm earning, or silver or gold, I'm earning like the same amount of SPS that I earn in what's that called? In Wild League. So if we get into a situation where, I'm losing out on glint, but if I can go in and have fun and maybe even potentially earn more on the modern side, I mean, that's going to be fantastic, because especially if SPS starts to go up, that turns into real money. I mean, it is real money now, but it becomes even more significant, and we can have fun with that. All right, Keeg says, I'm already starting to slow my DCA just from my staking and tournament rewards. I want to be in the habit when prices change, and I bought a lot of SPS for a lot lower than what it is now. So I'm in the same boat as you. I had a good habit for most of 2023 where I was just selling, and then once we got below the penny mark, I was like, okay, we're close enough to the bull run now. I can just stack for a little bit, and I will start the DCA out at some point. And like I said, maybe I'll go on record here. I don't know if I'm going to hold myself to it, but I'm just going out on record saying I would like to start, let's say, January 1st, right? But that's just kind of where I'm at. So January 1st, 2025, and we just DCA out throughout the rest of the year and see how things go. All right, Crypto Beaver says, although the cost of the Wild Pass isn't much, I still believe that having a few extra goodies attached to the Wild Pass, such as Soulbound Avatar, a 5% land production boost, and/or an extra Gladiator pack per season, would encourage more players to join the fun. That would help drive more players into renting or buying those rare cards from the earlier sets, which would help the overall game economy. You know what? I have an even better idea. Sorry, I'm not trying to poo-poo on your ideas, but I like where your head is at. I've said this in the past, and I think I'm even just kind of ruminating on it more. What if you got glint, but there was also an additional reward, like a wild glint? And I know this is going to be too many tokens now, but the point that I'm trying to make here is, what if you got additional benefits for playing in wild? What if there was a wild glint at which you could actually, start to stack some of that up? And there's like a wild glint store, right? So you could go in and buy stuff that is only available for people that play in wild, right? That would get people to participate in both leagues. Now, I was saying before that you should have the rewards separate, but I think that's going to be way too difficult, right? You get glint, and that's going to be too much. But to your point here, right? If you get additional benefits, maybe it is a Soulbound Avatar, maybe it is a production on land, maybe it is Gladius pack. I'm thinking that there could be a whole other store, like a secret exclusive, not secret, but like an exclusive store where you can spend wild glint, and maybe I don't know. It's just like on other things, right? I don't know. To me, that has some interesting value. And again, it could all be soulbound if that's what you want it to be. But maybe there's like another promo card. There's too many promo cards. But you get what I'm saying. I mean, I agree with you. There should be a little bit of a benefit there. People will look at that as like a battle pass then, and they'll want to participate, right? So you will go into Wild to really just jump into the fray of the Wild meta, which is absolutely crazy. And if you can do well, you can start to stack things up there. Or you can just go to Modern, where a lot of the new players will be. The meta is significantly simplified, and the earnings are actually probably significantly better because there's less people playing. All right, Clayboyne says, well, when it comes to glint, chess, or anything, okay, we did this already. I said that I was going to respond via text as well, so I will get back to that. Wow, cool. So we actually caught up with a lot of the ones from the earlier days. Now let's keep on going. Okay, so Swami says, was selling off enough land plot generated SPS per month to stay above ground. That is, until SPS went full Titanic and took the Ice Bucket Challenge. Swami says, then began replacing that lost monthly survival cash by selling off excess land plots, and then swapped the van down the river for a boat, now docked by the river. in hopes that Captain Yvonne will agree to sail off to some deserted island in the Caribbean to live off the land. Totally not gateway. Okay, I don't. I'm totally lost on whatever this metaphor is supposed to be. It looks like you sold a bunch of land, and now you're just kind of hanging tight and waiting for things to turn around. So let's hope that that does change in the very near future, with Cryptomancer now focusing on land 1.75. Okay, so Tail says, I liked it more when people were talking about buying islands in 2021. Buying ice cream a penny at a time does not seem so great in comparison. Hey, don't worry, we're gonna get back to buying islands soon, and as soon as we do that, you'll probably see me get very quiet and selling all my SPS. No, sorry, not all my SPS, but if once the island talks begin, it'll be a different thing. And please hold me accountable. All right, so I think people in every crypto projects were talking about buying islands at one point. Yeah, that's true. Ice cream buying is lame, to be fair. Yeah, okay. Well, you know what? Screw you guys. And for anybody who thinks that I'm buying a shit ton of ice cream, it's a metaphor, right? I don't know. It's the first thing that I thought of. So yeah, I can't eat that much ice cream. No, I mean, I love ice cream, but I can't eat that much. All right. So what do you mean Reflection Shield is not game changing on Olivia with all the tofu spam and her being life, says Ghostly BG. Fine, Ghostly BG. I will concede that point. Yes, she's great at the highest levels. It's not that I don't want her max level. I'm just saying Reflection Shield is, it's good. It's good, but she could also pick it up from somebody else. And she has in the past. All right, so what the pick says, gold foil guaranteed rarity draws make it less profitable. Wild season permit. Okay, interesting. Why would it be less profitable because of that? Nozem says, it's less fun fighting mostly bots. Double staking SPS requirement isn't helping, so modern earns better for me. Hopefully hardcore mode will be some kind of wild human only thing. I hope so. I just wish that they would give us a little bit of an idea of what is to be expected and a time frame for that. I know Matt's like anti time frames, but at this point it's like, oh, everything's just 2025. So it's like, okay, there we go. All right, I'm not seeing how a hardcore mode will help the game. Time would be better off developing a PvE mode, says Wolfshire. There's only for the next 6 months. That number will tick up when cash rotates out. Okay, so the way that I'm seeing hardcore mode, and keep in mind, I'm simply going at it from the name. My guess is hardcore mode is going to be something that is more whale food. Now, here's the thing. People might be upset about that, and that's okay. You have every right to feel the way that you want to feel. But we have seen whales battling it out on leaderboards for new cards and things like that. What if there was actually a way for whales to battle it out in-game by playing with a bunch of cards and a bunch of extra copies of cards and having a diverse collection, right? But it would require them to have additional SPS stake, to require them to spend DEC, it required them to buy up more cards. If that ends up being the case, it's once again going to be something where, sure, the majority of people cannot participate, myself included. But if it helps the ecosystem, if the whales fighting each other and playing with each other and wrestling with each other is going to get us back to peg and get the flywheel going, hey man, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Okay, so Last Hope says, so here's how this looks to me. I have 6 accounts, all botted, and I only do brawls with them. I rent the SPS and very few cards. I track my expenses and earnings over a few weeks, and it seems almost impossible to earn money from just botting in Wild if you don't own the SPS and have to rent that too. The brawling is what keeps the accounts profitable. In fact, the ROI is really great just due to brawls. So I will throw out the idea to not let people play brawls if they don't pay for the season pass or something similar. The reason for that is that it's easy exploitable how it is now because you can only play brawls. With a cheap rented deck and be really profitable if you don't have to buy a season pass and rent SPS. My suggestion is that you should need to buy a wild rank pass or a brawl pass individually for 1,000 DEC each or both. Interesting. Well, there's some crazy alpha there from Last Hope. That's a way in which you can get around. What's that called? The wild season pass. I mean, he's saying it's not even worth it to bot. But it's worth it to brawl. So if you have a bunch of accounts, just throw them all into a guild. Yeah, you're gonna have to pay some guild fees and level up and whatever. But I mean, that's not a bad idea, is it? Interesting. Okay. Brawls were fun for a while, but I hate having to wait to see. I think there should be more tournament style, says Wolfshire. Okay, basically your idea is to never have people be profitable in anything. Okay, interesting. So let's jump down to the next one. All right, so Jillian Pierce says, For me, there were two major issues with Aggie's leadership. Okay, let's jump into this. This might get spicy. One is simply that he hasn't had enough experience to be a good CEO of any company. Even people who have been in an industry for decades frequently get booted out after a short time because they don't have the uncommon skill set personality to make success of it. Add to that a personality of loving the limelight and showmanship, and it seems to me it was always going to be a struggle to be success in that role. Being a good CEO is not something many of us are cut out for. The second thing, which I find hard to stomach, was his lack of personal integrity. On the one hand, he preached peace, abundance, and liberty, and on the other hand, he spent hours in Discord promoting scarcity, telling us that there wasn't enough to go around and to push and shove, the opposite of peace and abundance to me. I'm sure I'm in the minority, though, given the majority response in Discord. Well, that's an interesting discrepancy that you describe, that he was about peace, abundance, and liberty, but was also always pushing for scarcity. I don't necessarily find those incongruent. I get where you're coming from, though, on the second part. I don't know that I would chalk that up to like a lack of personal integrity, though. Just respectfully disagreeing with you on that. But I can see where you're coming from. On the first part, I think you're spot on. I mean, I think being a CEO is probably more difficult than many people can imagine. In fact, we all have a great respect for Matt. He's in the role right now, and he freaking hates it, right? He doesn't want to do it. So I can imagine it being difficult. And when we were on the live stream talking about this, I was really trying to step into his shoes and think about like where my head would be at when it came to a lot of these things. Now, again, it's easy to armchair quarterback. So I know we do that all the time, either here or people on Discord. But the point is, I think a lot of people would have made similar choices in his position. And as you said, it probably takes a very specific type of person to look at the situation and sometimes make the tough choices that we can't all really take. So I appreciate the feedback on that. I don't know that you're necessarily in the minority, but I think people just feel strongly all across the spectrum around the previous leadership. All right, Wolfshire says they need to extend the SPS rental to an additional decimal point. It's not paying 0.002 and 0.001 never gets filled. Maybe people may be willing to pay 0015. Nah, how many decimal places can we go? Let's just leave it. I mean, we are seeing rentals. I'm renting out at 0.001. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I'm renting out at 0.001 whenever I have extra. And I mean, we're starting to see. I wouldn't forget to a point where maybe the demand will just completely dry up because we're starting to eat through a lot of the old stuff. So one thing that I'm doing is whenever I rent out SPS, any extra SPS that I have, unless there's something that's 0.002, I'll jump on that immediately. I haven't seen that in a while. So if I do rent something out, I usually filter by the oldest one available. And the reason for that is strategic. Well, two reasons. One is if this is something that was like a year ago, right? And sometimes I've seen stuff that goes that far back, maybe that person isn't playing anymore. I get the DEC that they allocated for this. And if they're not playing the game, right, and I guess I could go and check, but I don't bother. But if they're not playing the game, then it's like that SPS benefited me, but it didn't benefit them. And it's not taking away anything extra from the ecosystem, right? It's not dipping into the reward pool. So I always look at it in that sense where I'm just like, okay, if I'm going to rent out, let's rent out to some of these old accounts and or old requests, I should say. And if they're not playing, then it's like, well, they're not dipping into the pool and I'm still getting paid for it. So that's kind of nice. And then the second thing is I'm kind of maybe OCD about this. I want to see us eat through all the old stuff first and then work our way through. So at this point in time, we used to have a bunch of requests that were a year old or older. And last that I checked, we got that down to like 7 months now. So we are moving through this, right? And again, I'm going through and renting out whenever it just makes sense. And so what's been fun about it is that we're seeing that continue to move up and up and up. And my thought process is over the next 6 months, if we don't get any new players or SPS doesn't go up and whatever, we might get to a point where there's no requests anymore, because everything just gets filled and eaten up right away, and there's too many people holding SPS to give it out. So that would be a bad thing, in my opinion, but it does seem like we're trending that way in the medium term. All right, so removing staking requirement is way better, says BJY King. Luke Vincent says, I'm renting every season some SPS for 0.002, but more decimals would likely pass a DAO vote. Maybe. I mean, look, if you want to throw a proposal together, I don't feel strongly one way or another about it. It seems like not a priority to me, but if people really want it, then people want it. Yvonne says, maybe altcoins don't spike for 5 years. Oh boy, that would be rough. They might not spike for another 5 months. Can you guys stomach that? Can you guys stomach some Bitcoin dominance? Because that's what I see happening. All right. Brave Tofu says, we're 2 days back now. All right, we're at 25 minutes. All right, let's wrap this up. We'll do maybe 1 or 2 more. So Brave Tofu says, for the packs held rich list, I believe it didn't count packs that were in wagons. I remember my packs not being counted that when they were in wagons. So maybe people, okay, so that's good to know. Now we know where all the missing packs are. Keek says, I think a lot of people will probably just keep them for the next airdrop. I think this is for the conflict stuff. International Travel Channel, thank you very much. Let's close out with, Snowball says Claiborne is the man, so glad he's in the position that he is. I agree. Banana says SPS will outlast humanity. SPS is the cockroach of altcoins. All right, let's end with this one. Tails says, kind of scary. So this is what I was talking about when the SPS distribution ends. I shared Claiborne's graphic. SPS dump coming Q3 of 2025 due to loss of staking rewards. Same effect that we saw to certain liquidity once specific LP rewards were removed. Maybe, but I don't know that I would classify that as scary. I generally think people are going to vote for an extension of rewards. The DAO is sitting on a good amount of SPS. We could probably get away with putting something in there for the time being. So I don't think that it's going to be like a massive train wreck. That being said, the flip side of this is that Q3 is not far off from when I think we're going to top out, or we might even top up before then or in Q3 itself. So if the dump comes around that time or after that time, I wouldn't be surprised, but I wouldn't even necessarily put it on that reason alone. I think I think Q3 of next year is when a lot of people are looking to sell anyway. So, like the tail end of the bull run. So even if that happens, I wouldn't even put it all on like the loss of staking rewards. I would just think that people understand that the cycle is playing out the way that cycles always play out, and they're de-risking or they're taking their profits and seeing where things go from there. All right, that's all I have for you guys in this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know if you have any other questions, comments. Go ahead and leave them there. Really happy to be doing these again. They're always fun. And I'll catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.